Okay, so I know I've been absent from the channel for a little bit. There are reasons for it. We will talk about that throughout the video. First, let's get into what we're doing. So as you can see here, I have been watching Jazz's masterclass on alcohol markers, and that got me really inspired to work with alcohol markers again. So we're going to draw something up, we're going to ink it, and we're going to blend it. So let's get into that so that we can talk about some stuff while I'm doing all of this. The whole idea for this video is coming from watching Jazza's marker masterclass course. I decided to buy it, and after watching the basics section, I wanted to try out what I learned. So I grabbed my Ohuhu marker pad and just started to sketch out something simple. 3 shapes and a bit of a landscape. Nothing that's as complicated as Jazza's Color Quest books, which, by the way, are thankfully spelled correctly without that bullshit silent U that some people use. I love pissing people off, I bet. And while I sketch out everything, the first thing I want to talk about is Critically Stupid, my D&D campaign actual play where all of us are basically completely new to D&D. In the last video on the channel, I talked about that I was considering moving all the D&D stuff to a different channel of its own and keeping this channel more focused on creative hobby stuff. I pulled the trigger on that idea and created the channel and moved all the videos over there. You can click the link in the top right to get there, or there is also a link in the description. And honestly, I think it's a good decision, even though it cuts back the amount of content I was planning to put on this channel, which I am trying to rectify. I just suck at doing certain things regularly or with consistency. And also, if you haven't seen any of Critically Stupid's first campaign so far, here's a little tidbit of things that have happened throughout the course of this campaign. We are only on like the 5th session, so not that much has happened, but some stuff has happened.
I momentarily stopped the phonograph by putting my finger on the record and then lifting it off quickly.
Hey,
We've
don't
got
do
Dexter
that.
in. We've got Dexter in fucking doll form over here. We got the drunk rat, pot man, 2 lady, and then the curious tiger or the curious wolf here. So I'm gonna open the door.
The what lady?
The 2 lady.
Like a record scratch.
The tune lady. Okay.
I'm just record scratching the record right now.
Drop the beat.
You're just sitting there, you go and you stop it with a finger, and it just scratches, and you let it go, and do it again. And then you start kind of just sliding your finger on the record.
DJ Psychopath. That's his new name.
DJ Psychopath.
Stop doing that.
This makes interesting sounds. I think I'm going to take this with me.
Oh my
No.
Are you
No,
going to take the record?
Don't mess with dead people's things. Don't do that.
The phonograph.
You're going to take the whole
God.
phonograph?
I'm holding the phonograph now.
What's the point of taking it with me?
Now that you've seen a bit of Critically Stupid and hopefully gone over and subscribed to that channel, I'm done with the sketching. So let's talk about the potentially hardest part for me. That is inking any drawing. I say this is the hardest part because my hands are never as steady as I want them to be while I'm doing this. Like, maybe the better idea would have been to go and use a straight edge, but I didn't. And I say this is the hardest part because my hands are never as steady as I want them to be during this. Like, I can get real loose with the sketching and all that, but when I try to do the inking freehand, it turns out honestly so bad in my opinion. Like, if you look at the lines of the square, it's all wavy and just not that great. It's a little bit flaky also, just like how I've been for the past few months with this channel. So it wasn't like a big dramatic thing that happened for me to just kind of stop with videos for a while, like when my grandpa died. It's just a bunch of little things piling up. Work, or as I call it, hell, was super bullshit and just demotivating every day. So my focus after work just wasn't there. And I kept slipping on hitting video releases that I had planned, and then reworking how to do Crit Stupid also didn't help. Like, I started working on stuff, but then the video ideas either died, I failed at them, or I just procrastinated too much. Like, I'm working on painting my first Ravage Star models, the Abominations, now. That video will come out soon-ish, but I also stopped working on that for the 1000 contest video. I was also planning on doing a month of learning digital illustration and then another month of daily illustrations, but one of those ideas and one I just completely failed at, but it's still going to come out as a video for learning purposes. And with the abominations, I started that months ago. Like, I primed it, prepped it, did like airbrushing at least like a month or two ago, and I still have not finished it because there's a lot of fucking trim on there. But during that absence, I have learned and tried a couple of different things, like this video, and like building my first cabinet. But we'll talk about some of the ideas I'm going to be exploring soon later in the video. Now, though, we're going to talk about blending the colors for this square, cube, hollow thing. To start, I grabbed a piece of scratch paper to do some practice blends on and decide like what colors I'm going to use. I decided I'd use a simple 3-color blend technique for most of this piece, using Ohuhu's Honolulu 48 marker set for it. With the square, and little side note here, I am going to be adding in the current numbers for the markers so you can follow along if you want. For the square, I'll be using R5 for my lightest color, R4 for my mid-tone, and R6 for my darker shadowed area. I like most of this square, but I don't think there was a large enough separation of colors between my mid-tone and my shadow tone. Like, the blend just doesn't feel like it changes colors all that much. It's a decent blend, and it's much subtler than I was thinking it would be, especially on like that front face. Where I do think it worked well was in the shadowed corner of the square on the upper right corner, because I was able to go from the lightest color down low up to the darkest color. And while I'm working on the blending the square, let's talk about this, what this channel truly is. This channel is all about having fun while trying something new and developing skills. And that's the mindset I'm trying to set myself back into. That's kind of why I'm deciding to do more stuff with alcohol markers. I'm not abandoning what I started the channel as, which is a bit of diorama building and miniature painting, but I want to expand into other hobbies and add those skills to my skill set. Plus, I'm really bad at focusing when it comes to painting models. It's just there's so much damn detail, and I sit there for like an hour and my mind starts to wander, and I'm like, nope, I want to focus on this. And when the mind wanders, I'm fucked. It also doesn't help that I have a fairly uncomfortable chair when I'm working on it. So yeah, that's why it's taking me so long to do like the abominations. And talking about like expanding skills and stuff, you have seen, if you've been around the channel for a bit, me dabble in different things like whittling, alcohol markers, sketching, diorama building, miniature painting, digital illustration. Like, you've seen me do random things on the channel because I kind of want to try them, and my channel, I'm aiming for more of like a hobby variety channel. Plus, there's some bigger projects and other hobbies that I kind of want to extend into a little bit because I think it'd be really fun. But a couple of those will get talked about after we talk about my third favorite part of this coloring, and that is the triangle. So after doing a bit of experimentation on a separate sheet like I did for coloring the square, I start working on the triangle. I went for a larger spread of colors while still keeping to the 3-color blending rule. For the sides where light is going to hit, I used R11, which is like a light reddish purple / mauve. For the midtone where light isn't hitting, but it's not quite in full shadow, I used P3, which is like a pastel violet. Then for the shadow color, I'm using P4, which is like a dark lavender. This is my third favorite part because I feel like it has a lot more kind of tonal contrast to it while still staying in that kind of similar color section. Whereas the square just looks red and maybe slightly darker red. The triangle just feels like there's actually a bit of light value there. Is the shadow direction completely correct with a left upper corner sun? Probably not, but it's close enough for my liking on this piece. I will try to get better at my shadows, but you know, we're starting out here. This is a good starting point, I think. Now, let's talk about some of the other skills that I really want to explore kind of soon. And by kind of soon, I mean like maybe the next year or so. There are 5 interests or creative hobbies that I know I really want to explore and get into within the next couple of years. Woodworking / carving, DIY, physical painting, cosplay and props, and foam work. And that's adding them on top of the other list from before that I've already kind of dove into a little bit and I want to get better at. Because I want to have a variety of skills that I can make videos on as a beginner who's learning and getting better and improving those things. And each of those interests, I have an idea for what I call a current goal. For woodworking and carving, I want to learn how to make, decent cabinets. Stuff that's not like the cabinet I made in 24 hours and is maybe, a little bit better with more interesting fronts. And like I said, I've actually already made my first cabinet, so I've got a baseline that I can improve on just from right now. For DIY, I want to redo my whole office's flooring and change it up a bit while also, adding in some more storage, changing up my desk and, just redoing the whole thing. For physical painting, I kind of want to build a wall and make a mural using spray paint on it and also create something decent with oil paints or acrylic paints on canvas. For cosplay and props, I want to build by hand a wearable War from Darksiders cosplay. And, maybe a Lancer from Gears of War with a kind of working prop chainsaw, not with actual teeth, but with fake prop teeth. Maybe some cog armor with it too. And for foam work, this is the dumb one. I want to make a mount for my wall of a dragon's head or some other fantastical beast. Maybe a few of them. And also transform my office doorway into a stone arch doorway, because I think that could be really freaking cool. And this is just some of the first ideas I've had for this stuff. Actually, what if we made the doorway ourselves? Oh, that could be a good one for woodworking. I'm adding more ideas and they could get real dumb, but also real fun. Like I said, this is some of the first ideas I had. We could go real big, real stupid with some of this stuff. And I think it'd be just so much fun. There's also some video styles that I kind of want to try out with these different projects, but those we're gonna talk about after we talk about shading my ball. So I'll be honest, this one, the shading on this, I am not super happy with how it turned out. I was aiming for rounded shading, going from the top left being the lightest to the bottom right being much darker. But I think I kind of messed up with my color selection. This time my 3-color blend was YR2 for the top and lighter side. That would blend into YR1 for the middle tone and then into YR5 for my darker tone. After trying a few different colors out, I thought this would work out decently well. And for the lighter side, I think it works out just fine. But the darker side was still a little too light for my opinion. And when writing this script, about a few weeks at least after coloring this, I added in a little bit more of the YR5 to the drawing. And it helped a little bit, but I honestly think it was the wrong color to pick because there's so much more orange in it than it is brownish yellow. But sometimes you try things and it doesn't work out the way that you want it to. Even with that, you just got to make the best of it and either pivot or push through, which is kind of what I did. I just, I kept going, even though I think I did realize this isn't going to work out super well. And the last thing that I want to talk about that doesn't concern itself with the blending stuff is about going forward with videos. And this is where I really need your opinion. So over the next 5 videos, I'm thinking of changing the styles of videos just to try something new when it comes to exploring these new interests. For the Abominations video, it will be a normal video that I've done with mini painting. And the same goes for another marker video that I'm working on. But some of the next videos after those are going to be a little bit different. One of those is a kind of time challenge for making my first cabinet within 24 hours, which is going to not have voiceover over it. It's just going to be working on it and me cutting in a good amount trying to figure out how the hell to do this. And the other few videos I'm thinking are going to be a much more vlog style video for the big DIY project that I mentioned before of redoing my whole office. So the question is, because I like to try new things, would you watch a kind of vlog style building video with, normal interspersed life stuff for a large project like the DIY video? Or would you rather I just did a full build video on each section of the room? And I'm talking a video for each section with the flooring, the cabinets, the desk, all of them just being separate videos. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And for the vlog stuff, I mean I do vlogging while I'm building the stuff, but also, you know, when I'm done for the day, we'll do a little bit of a update on the day, or right when I get up, we'll go and talk about the plans. Stuff like that. All right, now that you have left your comment, let's get the rest of this piece done. Next up is the shadows and ground coloring. And I think this is my favorite blended part of this piece. Like, it's right up there with the sky blending. Before I get into trying to make the shadows for each of the objects, I sketched out where I thought the shadows would be based on my sun's position in the upper left corner. Then for the 3-color blend, I grabbed BR3 for my lightest and like closest to the camera ground. BR2 is my middle ground, and BR1 for the farthest away areas. I wanted to, you know, give an illusion of depth with this, and I think it works out all right. I started with doing the large areas of ground around the flower and inside the square. And since the tip of the triangle shadow reaches into the square, I filled the area around where I sketched the shadow with my lightest color. Then I filled the shadow area with my mid-tone, and I kind of just went back and forth between the two a few times to blend those into kind of a blurry edge. After that, I colored the inside of the square with a second coat and worked on the rest of the shadow for the triangle. I did do it a little bit of a wrong order though for the shadow outside of the square. I went dark to light, and that didn't work out too well for the outer edge of the shadow because I think it's a little too well defined in that end. Then I jumped to the shadow of the flower, using the mid-tone for most of the shadow, but then I decided that right at the base, I wanted to use the darkest tone to make a contact shadow, and blended that tone into the mid-tone, and then blending the sides over with the lightest tone. After that, I went back and did the same thing for the triangle. Once those were done, I jumped over to the far side of the square and used the broad tip of my lightest marker to fill in that side and the area between the triangle and sphere before I started work on the square and sphere shadows. Learning from my earlier shadow mishaps, I started with the shadow's mid-tone and filled out most of the shadow. Then I did the contact shadow with the darkest marker and blended it out with the mid-tone again, before blending the mid-tone out to the lightest tone at the edge. Once the shadows were done, I finished up the ground by taking the mid-tone and basically making a line across a little ways under my horizon line and blended that down with the lighter tone. Then I did the same thing with the darkest tone, but right at the horizon line, and blended that out with the mid-tone. After that, I started on the final major section with a 3-color blend. For this guy, I used PB7 as my lighter full coverage tone, then PB1 for my mid-tone as I got close to the horizon line and around like the sphere and other shapes. And then I finished off with the PB2 as my darkest tone right at the horizon line. This is basically a rinse and repeat of what I did with the ground. Lightest one overall, mid-tone a little ways up from the horizon line, and then dark tone right at the horizon line, and just blending it all together. I did use the mid-tone all around the sphere to give it a little bit of contrast with the sky, even though it's not exactly how light would actually work. But that's how I'm making it work here. Then we are at the point of finishing touches. The flower gets 3 colors. GY1 was for the upper highlights towards the sun on the leaves, while GY2 is used for the lower shadowed areas and the main stem of the flower. And for the top of the flower, I just used Y2 to give it a bright pop of color in that area. I just wanted to go very basic with the flower, so I didn't do anything super fancy with blending on it to try and, you know, give it a little more texture. I just did a second layer towards the bottom and the shadow area to kind of darken it up a little bit. Finally, I put the complete finishing touches on this with a bit of a mistake. Instead of grabbing a cool gray to complement the cool color of the blue for the sky, I kind of grabbed a warm gray for the first cloud that I did. Then I looked at it after I finished and went, that doesn't feel right. So I grabbed a cool gray instead and gave the clouds a bit of a shadow on the bottom. Not much, but you know, just a little bit so it's there. And I was going to put a sun up in the left corner, but I kind of decided on that after I had already colored it all blue. So that would have just made a green sun if I tried that. So I didn't do that. Instead, I grabbed a yellow colored pencil and just lightly drew some sun lines across the image and gave areas a faint bit of yellow. Overall, I had a lot of fun doing this, and I like how it turned out. I'm looking forward to getting more into coloring and blending with alcohol markers to see how far I can take my skills with this medium. Plus, it'll help me get better at drawing and inking when I make my own drawings to color and don't use like the Color Quest books or other coloring books that I have. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and you're having a royal day. If you've made it all the way here, remember to leave your comment, maybe a like and a subscribe if you do really enjoy my random hobby content that I'm doing.